Welcome, everyone, to the NoDQ.com live recap of AEW Dynamite for Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025. Shout out to everybody watching this, whether it's live or on demand. I appreciate your viewership and support. This is the 13th consecutive live stream of this WrestleMania week, the final one of the 13 nights. Thank you to everybody that has been following along and supporting No DQ, saying yes to No DQ. Much love to all of you. Now, let's get to Dynamite. We kicked off the show. It was in New Orleans, Louisiana, and we had Tony Schiavone introduce Master P, the rapper Master P. Some of you that watched WCW back in the day might remember Master P when him and the No Limit Soldiers made a few appearances in WCW. We had the angle with the West Texas Rednecks. Fans booed Master P even in the South, and they cheered Kurt Hennig and the Rednecks. Master P only lasted about a month or so, and then he was gone. Anyways, he came out there. He introduced the new Trios champions, the Ops, but their celebration was cut short by the Death Riders. They had a sneak attack using Marina Shafir as a distraction, and then Jon Moxley got in the face of Master P. That allowed to regroup. Joe choked Moxley from behind, and then the Elite showed up with chairs. Jon Moxley didn't seem too happy that the Elite was out there in his business. Then we had Swerve Strickland come out there, and then Kenny Omega with a steel chair. The Elite and the Death Riders finally fled the scene, and then Samoa Joe got on the mic and vowed to take back his AEW World Championship. It was quite the segment as far as just a lot of things happening, lots of people getting involved. Did feel a bit chaotic. And then they confirmed that I think it's 3 weeks from now, the Beach Break edition of Dynamite, which, number one, seems a little bit early for a Beach Break episode in mid-May. Number two, it's in Chicago, which you don't really think about beach breaks in Chicago, although they do have beaches. Still, you think of someplace in Florida or California. Odd timing to be doing a beach break in mid-May in Chicago, but there you go. And that show will have Jon Moxley defending his championship against Samoa Joe. They're not saving it for Double or Nothing, which makes me think they're probably doing something else with Moxley, like maybe the Anarchy in the Arena or the Blood and Guts match. And we're just going to do this match for free on Dynamite. Although I do think it's going to be that 4-hour Dynamite. That might be tough to get through. Dynamite plus Collision as the 4-hour block. I'm not sure how I'm going to handle that one. We had our first match of the evening, which was Ricochet versus Mark Briscoe. Solid TV match here between these two, back and forth, competitive. Ricochet using some shady tactics, like pulling the referee in his path to gain the advantage. And then Ricochet later did a 450 springboard splash, and the crowd chanted, "You still suck." He tried to win with his feet on the ropes, but then Briscoe reversed it and pinned Ricochet to get the 1-2-3 victory. After the match was over, Ricochet attacked Briscoe, pulled out his scissors. He was going to use the scissors, but then Kevin Knight ran out there, and Ricochet fled and ran away. More on that with Ricochet in just a little bit. Backstage, we had Christian Cage taking credit for Nick Wayne's Ring of Honor TV title victory. I didn't even know Nick Wayne won the Ring of Honor title. I'm not sure if that was on Collision or the Ring of Honor show. Didn't even know. And Christian said that he celebrated with Nick Wayne's mother. Nick said that they win titles when they stick to the plan. And he tried to grab at the title. Christian was holding back, but then did hand over the title, said he loves his family. And I guess, the breakup of these guys is moving forward, and I suspect we will see a split relatively soon, and Christian will move on to something else. We had FTR's segment next. They were supposed to explain their recent actions that led to them getting suspended and fined, but Stokely Hathaway came out there and then introduced FTR. Stokely Hathaway is the new agent for FTR, and he said that he is going to make sure that they get their money back from the suspension. Their fine is reimbursed, and he talked about all these terrible things that people have done, like Adam Page committing arson, Ricochet stabbing people, Jon Moxley kidnapping and extorting, and none of these people get punished. He said he's going to change things, and FTR is going to be off the hook. Cash Wheeler talked about the attack on Daniel Garcia and said that they got him to the TNT title, but they're tired of putting everyone else first. Got them nowhere. Now they're putting themselves first. And then Dax Harwood invited the Rock and Roll Express into the ring, and I'm thinking, don't do it, guys. You're going to get beat up. You're going to get your asses kicked. But they were foolish. They got into the ring, and we had Dax Harwood disrespecting them. Ricky Morton finally had enough. And then Stokely revealed that he had a new t-shirt made which says "The Living Legend Killers." And that's when, of course, no surprise here, FTR beats up these guys, gives Ricky Morton the pile driver, and then the Undisputed Kingdom ran down to make the save. I think they have a new name. I don't even remember what it is. I didn't even write it down. But I think they have a new name now. They're no longer the Undisputed Kingdom. They changed their name to something else. Somebody in the chat help me with that one. I forgot what their new name is. Segment was all right, but very predictable. The Paragon is their new name. That's a dumb name. I don't even know what it means, nor do I care. Paragon, Paradigm Shift, I don't know, just lame. We had the Young Bucks versus Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight. This was the Young Bucks' first match back in quite some time. It was another good match here with these two teams. Lots of high-flying action. Mike Bailey, he's been delivering, and Kevin Knight, they're trying to build him up, but why do I feel like in 6 months he'll just be like Action Andretti? He'll be barely on TV, or he'll be on Collision at best. We'll see. We'll see if they continue to push him and if he can amount to anything in AEW. But it was a very good match here for TV standards. The Young Bucks at one point did a doomsday device on the outside of the ring, and then they hit the TK driver to Speedball on the outside. But Knight was able to fight back. However, Ricochet showed up. Remember earlier, you had Kevin Knight running out there and chasing off Ricochet. So Ricochet was getting his revenge. And then the Bucks were able to take advantage after Ricochet grabbed Knight's foot. EVP trigger to Knight, and they got the 1-2-3 victory. No shock here. Young Bucks pick up their first big win back. We then had the Hurt Business come to the ring. Bobby Lashley was going to talk, but then MJF arrived in the backstage area. He drove up, I should say, in a nice fancy car. He came into the ring and he wanted the 3 thumbs up. Shelton Benjamin finally gave the thumbs up after teasing that he might go down and said he was only doing it because of MVP. And then MJF made one final pitch to Bobby Lashley. MVP says he knows how to cut corners better than anyone in AEW, and he had to say something. He was struggling to say it. The crowd knew what he was wanting to say. They said, "Say you're sorry," and MJF finally said it. He said he was sorry. And then he also offered the new car to Lashley. And Lashley said he wanted to see the keys. So they went to the backstage area. Lashley took the keys. He got in the car and he did the thumbs down and drove off. So still no acceptance into the Hurt Syndicate, but MVP told MJF that he needs to give the people what they want. Another good segment with these guys, probably the highlight of the show for me. I enjoyed it. I'm still curious as to where this is all going. And then backstage, Adam Page cut a promo to hype up his match with Kyle Fletcher next week in Virginia. And that's when MJF approached him. And basically we got a tease of a third match between these two. MJF brought up how they're 1-1, said Adam Page is going to choke in the Owen tournament. So we'll see what happens with that. Next up, we had Will Osprey and Brody King going up against Takeshita and Josh Alexander. Alexander took the cheap shot and worked over Osprey for a while, but then Brody King came in and he was building up some momentum, but then he got sent into the steel steps. Takeshita hit the Blue Thunder Bomb to Osprey and got the 1-2-3 victory. No, he didn't. Of course, Osprey kicked out of the Blue Thunder Bomb, and then Brody King was back in. Brody King was on the verge of winning, but then Lance Archer got on the apron. He was knocked off, and Osprey took out Archer with a dive, but then Alexander was able to get rid of Osprey, and then the bad guys double-teamed Brody King. They did the power drive knee, followed by the C4 pile driver, and Alexander was able to pin Brody King. Brody King takes another loss, but Alexander needed a win here at this point. You know, he just came into the company and turned heel. So he was really the one that needed this. After the match was over, we had the post-match attack, but then Kyle Fletcher ran down and Adam Page also ran down, but then Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero attacked Paige, and we had this beatdown continue, and the good guys were laid out. How many people are in the Don Callis family now? You got Trent and Rocky in it. I mean, this is getting a little ridiculous. You know, they should have like 3, maybe 4 guys tops in the group. Once you start getting to like 6 or 7, you're getting into the NWO past its peak with too many guys in the group. We had our main event of the evening, which was Jamie Hayter versus Kris Statlander. The women got the main event spot, although it was a pretty basic match, nothing too spectacular. It was fine, but your standard TV main event, back and forth match. They traded some near falls, hit each other with some big moves. Both of them were down for a bit. And then Statlander came off the top with the 450, but Hayter kicked out of that. And then Hayter caught her with the clothesline, the lariat, whatever you want to call it, and then hit her again with the lariat, the Hayterade lariat, and got the 1-2-3 victory over a very game Statlander. And Mercedes Moné appeared after the match, and they teased the final match between them, which is now official for the Double or Nothing pay-per-view. Osprey will face the winner of the Hangman Page match with Kyle Fletcher. Considering that's in Virginia, I think Page wins, and we've already seen the blow-off to Osprey and Fletcher. We saw the cage match. So I think they're going to go in a different direction, and it will be Osprey versus Page at Double or Nothing. Shout out to Teaching in Color X. I'll get to that super chat in just a second. Overall, I think that this was an average show. After last week was like a mini pay-per-view. It was one of the best Dynamites ever. This was, as I expected it, back down to reality. Just a decent wrestling show. Nothing too spectacular. Nothing I'll remember in a week. It was just a regular show. Next week, I don't think there's too much beyond that Owen Hart tournament match. That Chicago show looks to be the next big one. I believe that's May 14th. The May 7th show is in Detroit, but at this time, I feel like Detroit's gonna get the shaft here and not really have much of a solid card. Seems like they're building up for that Chicago one. I may go, but I hope they'll beef up the Detroit card a little bit. I don't know what they have against Detroit right now. I mean, those two Dynamites in Detroit drew big crowds, and they did do the first Blood and Guts. Well, not the first Blood and Guts, but the first, I think it was the first one after the pandemic restrictions were lifted, 2022. And they drew a huge crowd. So I'm not sure why Detroit's not getting more love from AEW. But anyways, 5 out of 10 for this week's Dynamite. It was all right, but I mean, I struggled to remember things that happened, even though I wrote everything down after the show was over. So it was just run-of-the-mill show. Nothing you really need to go out of your way to see. A little disappointing, but I was expecting it to come down after last week. You can't do the mini pay-per-view every single week, so it's bound to cool off a little bit. Now, Teaching in Color X sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Says, do you think alcoholism is a problem in WWE with the Stone Cold accident and several others appearing drunk after and during the shows? I don't want to speculate on Steve Austin. I mean, to his credit, there's not a lot of room to drive around with an ATV. And maybe he was drinking a little bit. Who knows? But things happen. You go out there with these vehicles and things can go wrong. I don't necessarily think it's a problem with the wrestlers drinking after the shows. If they're drinking on the job, that's not a good thing. If they're drinking and driving, that's not a good thing. So I think that as long as the wrestlers can keep it under control and are professional, let them do what they want to do. I really don't think there have been too many incidents, though, as of late. I think, the thing with Austin, we haven't really had much to worry about with these guys. I feel like for the most part, they got their shit together. So I don't think it's a problem, especially when you compare it to like the 80s and 90s. I think it was worse then, with sometimes the wrestlers showing up and clearly they're in no condition to work. And that's, dangerous. Before I sign off here, I did want to offer my condolences to the family and friends of Steve Mongo McMichael, who passed away today. He was in bad shape for several years. I did enjoy him being part of the Four Horsemen in WCW. He wasn't a great wrestler or anything, but he definitely had a personality, and he did bring something unique to the WCW announce team. He was at WrestleMania in '95 out there with Lawrence Taylor. Obviously, Mongo had a football career before he got into wrestling. Did the Nitro announcing gig and then joined the Four Horsemen and had a couple of interesting years there, but a relatively short wrestling career. And yes, he was United States champion at one point. He had about a 3-year run, I think. '99 was his last year. Pretty early on, I think he left the company. Sad to hear that news. Just a terrible disease that he had. So again, my My condolences to his friends and family. That's it for the 13 nights here on the NoDQ.com YouTube channel. I hope you guys enjoyed all of the streams. If you did, please give me a thumbs up on YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't already, and spread the word. I will be back. I am going to take Thursday off. No stream. Have a nice night at home. Just relax, kick back. And then Friday, I will be back with the SmackDown recap. The expected debut or re-debut of Aleister Black and more of the fallout from WrestleMania. So tune in for that Friday night after SmackDown. Have a great rest of your week, everyone. Take care. Stay safe out there. Say yes to No DQ, and I will see you all next time.